session 0 and session 1. We
Yes.
did those.
You get a piece of paper.
And I'm going to, and see, I don't do the whole, well, and here's my notes for you thing. Instead,
Right.
I say, talk me through your thoughts.
Okay. My thoughts on it? Okay, well, I thought session 0, the character creation session, it went great. It really, what it does for me and what I try to do with life paths is to get everyone jazzed up about actually for the playing. Essentially, this is our stretch session where we're getting ready to do the actual play. But the thing is that you create potential energy. There's a nascent energy there that everyone's ready for. It's like, okay, I've got a character. I kind of know what I'm getting ready to do. I can't wait to do it. And that's kind of what, the life paths in session 0 are trying to do, or at least that's what I'm trying to do with them, is get people, jazzed about playing. It's kind of like the Flavor Flav, the hype man of the game, the guy who comes out before like the actual band plays and tells you like, you guys ready?
Right.
And, pumps you up. As far as like, structurally, I think it did what I wanted it to do. It connected all the characters. It kind of did a little bit of world building in the background, where, people kind of have an idea of what's going on. Which I thought was kind of cool. There's a few things that, I'm going to probably go back and tweak. But other than that, I thought like the session 0, it made me look forward to next week is what it did.
What do you think about my struggles? And I'll clarify my struggles.
Okay.
It's real obvious in the video, and you'll see it if you watch it. In fact, I even snipped out a bit that was really blithering because it was
right.
The struggles I had with this concept. You get 5 points, or 20 points, or 10 points
right.
as you're going through the life path, and Renee like hitched on it for 10 seconds, and I not just hitched on it. I completely was trapped, like in barbed wire, which was, I could not see how that wasn't a negative number. And I know it's not, but I finished up and I was X number of points. And I was like, okay, I think that means I've got this many more points. And I got nervous. I mean, it's right there in the video. I got nervous and said, wait a minute, I think I might have messed this up somehow. I can't have this many points just sitting here unused. I better go back and double check. And after the session, when I finished up the character, I went down the wrong road and I did it all wrong.
I know.
Because I thought that I had all these extra points to use. And I went and I did it, and I put it on the sheet, my permanent character sheet. And then I realized finally how badly I'd screwed it up. That what I'd done was I had figured out the cost, and then I had subtracted those like extra 10 points I got for those powers from the cost. And I did that for the skill too. I was like, oh, I get five, plus 5 in this skill, 5 points in this skill. Cool. So I got a free 5, and I didn't spend any points.
Right? So you just took 5 levels of something.
No. I'm not talking levels and points. I'm not talking levels. I'm talking about points. So just take because remember, skills are 1 for 1.
Right.
So at one point I was confused about points and levels, but you did correct that. So that wasn't the issue. But so there I was, and I got 5 points in Scholar for my life paths. Scott's 5 points so that's plus 5 in Scholar, but its point is that it's 5 points. So I put, okay, I'm plus 5 in Scholar, and so that's 0 points.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that you tried to, and I did not understand. You'll see it in the video. You try to explain that like 4 times to me.
Right, and it didn't work.
It did not work. And so So I'm just saying that's one thing you can look at is that, and I wasn't faking it either. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to play like I'm the stupid player who doesn't get it. See how Jerry handles this. No, I just didn't fucking get it at all.
Right. Okay.
So,
What would you suggest I do then?
yeah, well, part of this is just presentational, and that's not really my point. My point is more in
Right.
terms of you got to settle on a terminology for these things that isn't broken or reversed in some other part of the explanation or the procedure. So, for example, here let me go with one example. Um, with champions, there's no negative points at all. You have X points, and then you get more of those per disadvantage points.
Right.
And that's your total. That's your total. You can go over and look at the disadvantages, and they happen to have a total, but who cares? This is your total, right? Whereas so you could have like a 300-point character, and that's all the points. And
Right.
so and the disadvantages add up to a certain amount of that, but you don't subtract that from
Right.
the total. In GURPS, you do. If you have a character with 400 points and 100 points of disadvantages, that means in champions terms, you've got a 500-point character.
Right. Yep.
Right? So you see that the logic is totally different in terms of
Right.
that. Now, it sounds like we're just playing games with equal signs and just a little bit of semantics, but we're not when you start doing what you're doing by putting points into the life paths de novo in the beginning.
Right.
Right. So what the thing that I'm thinking is that it says, okay, you have 5 points in scholar. What you need to do, what I needed to do at that point, was to go to my sheet and in scholar write down 5 points in the point column.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
and that's why the terminology of spent always, that's why champions now, my version, has no money talk at all for the points. It's not spending.
Right.
You have and you use. You never get rid of them. You don't lose them. There's no
Right.
ledger. The points don't cross anywhere.
Right.
So
yeah, instead of it reading as if you got a bonus, an additional 5
use
points.
it, right? Yeah, that you don't have
Right.
to spend or something like that. Yeah. So whatever terminology you like best is fine. I don't have a recommendation about that.
Right.
What I do have is that when you have different points, different moments in the procedure where points are coming in,
Right.
and then if there's the potential to think of those as like minus signs and adjusting down instead of adjusting up it's enormous. I couldn't believe it. I mean, right before we played session 1, I was correcting the character from that error. And I had to shave like 10,000 things and knock down like 10,000 things to make him.
Man, I can't imagine what this character looked like before you did it, because your character's pretty competent. Yeah, your character's like really competent. So yeah, I can only imagine what it looked like before.
In my autumn years, I have apparently been benefiting greatly from dice karma, because you never saw a worse rolling teenager in your life. Right. I rolled up many bad D&D characters. I rolled up the worst fucking rolls in history, across hundreds of games that I played. And I just said, okay, I am just always going to get screwed by dice. For some reason, it's all coming back around on me, contrary to the laws of physics. And I have been in the last few games, I have just enjoyed like monster rolls for all sorts of things. So that was part of it. But I do admit that the way your game works really is, if you can say, I'm going to use my power this way, and it's not blatantly stupid, then you can. And so all you have to do is throw yourself at it rather than, mincing around going, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't think any of us have a problem as players in that group. So you're up against it as a GM. We're gonna hit whatever you throw at us. We're gonna hit it with our stuff as hard as we can.
No.
And
that's what I like. But as far as GMing is concerned, my personal style is do your worst. I mean, well, not really your worst, but do what you think you need to do, because that's where like the delight comes in. Is but saying that, you guys played the agenda section in that first session, the agendas, and you did an event, which might be different for you when we zoom in for the for the actual
Well, we have not yet confronted nose to nose. We have not yet met the Obsidian Scorpion, or God knows what you have waiting.
Yes, the trait.
Yeah,
that's a cool name. It's much cooler than the actual name I gave it. But
Obsidian Scorpion. Are you kidding? All right,
it's way cooler.
But I'll brace myself.
No,
so the other thing I was going to say is that you'll also see it in the video from me, is that there's a weird experience that I had, and you can judge it as you see fit, because you can always say, well, Ron's an idiot, never mind, nobody's going to be that stupid.
Right.
So, which is that when we got to making the Pantheon agenda or agendas, the choices seem to be no choice at all, which is to say we can pick any agenda we want out of the air, out of the book. We could just do that. Or we could look and see whether we all share a top agenda, which is probably unlikely, but we could, see. Or we could sort of look at the agendas we have and scratch our heads and go, well, these kind of cluster near the top, so we'll do that. And in the video, I noticed that we started chasing our tails, because every time we asked, like, what's the procedure, you would say, well, you can pick whatever you want. And then we would chase our tails some more. And so eventually I just said, wait. We've got 2 top agendas that are shared, and it's my second agenda. We're just doing that. So I just said so.
Yes. Right? No, that got corrected after the session.
Right. So you already reflected on that. Yeah.
Right. Just to make it so that there is less ambiguity. It's just, the one that is essentially the one that seems to be the most relevant to the group, the one that most people have, will be the one.
Yeah. No, it makes perfectly good sense, and it's I think it's a good place to have something be pretty deterministic at that point,
right?
Because you're looking at what you've all chosen and what you've all rolled, and you're like, okay, where does that land us? Oh, so this is what we're about, right? And then and so much flowed from that too. One thing I really liked, I mean, it was so clear that we were going to be based in South America,
right?
It was just very
that one. I liked
all
it.
That came together. The various details of the backstories and the origin points and stuff like that, and then the fact of the agenda that we all shared the most and everything, and it just went pop. Okay, we're there.
Right. Yeah, I like that. I like that it's actually said. It what it gives me now is a reason to research Lima, Peru.
You started doing it in front of our eyes in session 1, and the rest of us were not far behind. Which is great.